And it's all in earnest now. There we go. And we begin in 3, 2. Well, you're going to love this. 1.
Hey, kid. Down here. It's Vectorman. Hey, open up. Now I'm in Oscar Mayer Lunchables, lunch combinations, and hot dogs.
What? What are you doing in there?
I think we found a promotion. That's what that is.
Hey, kids, down here.
The voice that gave Vectorman, really stupid. Hey, everybody, this is Play Retro. Welcome back to it. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Johnson. And look, all my little pieces are made up of balls. They don't exactly touch each other. And I run around and do stuff in a very timely manner because there's a clock ticking the whole time. F the clock!
That's Half the clock. It's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. I'm your other host, Brian Dunaway, and I have just returned from the far-flung future of 2049, or 2049, where humans have gone on a space vacation while the robot garbage men made of orbs stay behind to clean up our mess. Good to see not much has changed. Also, your kids are assholes, and one of the robots has a nuke for a head. In other words, only a slight improvement over modern times.
Nicely done. We're talking about Vectorman 1 and 2 today, and you're going to ask yourselves why. Well, it's an answer to what we did last week with Nintendo and the Donkey Kong series. How about some pre-rendered graphics that blew people's minds at the time? How about some really poor decisions about adding a timer to a game that didn't need one? How about some other thoughts? We'll have them. We'll bring them. But before we do all of that,
How about the Sega Saturn was already on the streets when they decided to put a game on the Sega Genesis?
That's right.
All right.
They did. Also, but it's not that much different than Donkey Kong because at that time, N64 was either out or on its way. So 2 and 3 definitely came out post N64. Yeah. So this was a weird late generation, like, hey, what if we squeezed every little bit of cheese out of this we can before we go kind of time. We'll get to it. We'll talk about all that stuff. But before we do, a couple of quick things. I want to thank Alan from Cottonwood Heights, Utah. He lives here in the state. He did something that technically I think is like, if it's not illegal, it's just sort of like frowned upon. But because he's so trustworthy looking, this is the truth. The lady, so I have a P.O. box, right? The rule is you're not supposed to be able to take things and like drop them off there. You're supposed to mail them to them. And if they get something where someone just drops it off, they're not supposed to take it. But she said he was so nice and just seemed so normal and cool. This is what her words were. She goes, I just felt like I could do it. I felt like I could trust him. So Alan,
wild.
Whatever that means, but look what he brought me. Check this out. You may have heard of it.
Is the post office supposed to stay in business if you don't give them the postage?
Exactly. Look at this. Game Gear.
Dude,
he brought me a Game Gear.
That is an amazing condition, too.
It's
in
really good condition.
Loved.
Yep. This is somebody who cared about their game. I put a cartridge in it, but it's the Sonic 2.
Oh, my God. I am so jealous. Now, that's the one I believe you would buy that. I think that's the pack-in.
Might have been.
The Sonic 2. For the Game Gear, but man, that is a beautiful system.
Really well made, really well kept. One reminder, back here in the rear, you have not one
in the rear,
but 2 battery packs that you need 6 AA's.
And look at the forethought that went into that because they took the batteries out. A lot of people, you leave the batteries in, you forget about it for a couple of decades. Yep. And guess what? A big old nasty explosion on the inside. My God, that thing is gorgeous.
It's in great condition.
Pristine in the back. Who was this?
Alan? Alan from Cottonwood Heights.
Be my friend.
I used to live near that. I used to live near Cottonwood Heights. If that, I don't know if I don't think I told that guy that, but anyway, it's all here. He gave me 3 game cartridges. Sonic 2.
That's amazing. Did he send you the power supply as well?
Yes.
So that you can turn it on without putting batteries.
Yeah, I ain't putting no batteries in this thing. You kidding me?
Yeah.
Because those 6 batteries were gone in like 20 minutes. It was ridiculous back in the day.
Yeah.
The Majors Pro Baseball.
Nice.
And I love a good baseball game, so that's awesome. And
yeah.
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat. All the blood that you can stand on a teeny little handheld. I love it.
It's awesome. Well, teeny little is an interesting way of describing this beast.
well, the system itself pretty large. The screen, pretty big for this time, and also in color. And no wonder it's in such great shape. Are you showing me a bag?
I'm showing you my bag. Look at my bag, Brian. Stare at my bag. This is
look how low it hangs.
Look how low my bag hangs. Oh, there's stuff in here I didn't look at. What? Okay, hold on. All right, I used to have this exact bag from my old one that I sold, and I always regretted selling. It's got 2 straps in it that have never been used, and it's got some. Oh, these manuals. Is that what this is? Oh, okay. So we got system manuals, instruction manual. Get a grip, man.
Dude, I love it.
Oh my gosh, look at this, Brian. You're gonna shit yourself.
I'm already pooping right now.
It's a fold-out.
Oh, it's the original promo work. Oh, get a grip. Yeah, look at that.
It's a fold-out.
Remember, that's what you would do. You get your game system. You have one game, and then they would give you a little insert to say, "Look at all the other crap you could have."
Yep, and then they push you down this road of like, buy the Super Scope thing equivalent. Buy the.
I forgot Sega did that whole. Put that one side back up where we can see that terrible font work they do. Where it's like, what the hell does that say? Where it's like, welcome
me, 10X to level.
Is this a eye exam? Oh, I hate what they used to do.
I don't like it either. But they have, they got everything here. Is that even the CDX? It might be. Oh, they have all the advanced. So I almost bought this back when I had the original, but it's got the built-in or the add-on TV tuner. I almost bought that.
Oh yeah, the TV tuner. Pretty useless at this point. There's no terrestrial signals going out there. You can make your own though. Do you know that you can do your own?
I think there's still the FCC requires you put stuff out on the air, but I don't know if it's the same antenna systems as they used to be. I don't know how that stuff works now, but anyway, manuals for the games themselves. Dude, he made my week, made my month. He might even say
month, man. What are you talking about? That is an amazing. I love it when retro gamers don't want to just get rid of their stuff just for some money. Mm-hmm. Like it's so easy. We used to do this all the time. Every time the next generation of console would come out, we would go sell the current one and pick up the next one. But I've ran into so many great retro gamers and people who just never let the stuff go. They just loved it so much. They held on to it. And then they realized at some point in life, it's like, I still want this thing to have a life with somebody who loves retro video games. Yeah. And they found somebody in use. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
And they also, clearly they appreciate the show, and that means a lot too. So thank you so much for this. It's extremely generous of him to do this, and I will cherish this like I should have my original, but I was dumb back then and thought, well, why would I want it now? There's new stuff. I would just sell this. No. Yeah. Hang on to your shit. Okay, I'm not saying be hoarders. I'm not saying keep everything you ever get. I'm saying in the video game world, keep your cool consoles. Like you may even look at your Series X, your PS5 right now and go, well, I'm selling that the minute I can. There's something new. Right. Don't do it. Hang on to it. Right. Okay.
At least hang on to the controllers, right? Because those things have so much nostalgia value. That you touch it, you pick it up, you look at it, you're like, oh my God, this takes me back.
I do that. I keep a controller from every console I've ever owned. So I do have
that's what you should do.
Yeah, because I always bought extras anyway, so it was no big deal to keep one or two. Anyway, that's what I got up to. Brian, what have you been up to, yo?
Well, and speaking of people who lovingly share things with us, now you did get the Game Gear, but hey, let's continue our talk about Donkey Kong Country, because we tried to get here before. Lance sent me this. It is the Donkey Kong controller. I don't have the game yet.
What are the bongos called? They have a name, right? The bongos? What are they called? They're called
you bang on the drum all day. I thought there might be a label back here, but I don't see. Now, this is the GameCube you would plug into. Does it say Donkey Kong?
Jungle Beat. I found it. Jungle Beat Bongos. That's it.
That's it. And there were several games that you could play with this and in different ways. One of them was a platformer, and one of them was more like a rhythm game, right? Mm-hmm. And so I've got one of the games on order, and it's different than I thought it was. I imagine what it would feel like with the two giant barrels. I was like, oh, bongo barrels. It's going to be nice and good. But apparently on the top, I thought it was going to be solid plastic, but it's actually very much drum-like. It's got a drum head on it. Mm-hmm. And so I was kind of pleasantly surprised that that's there. And I also think you can beat on the side of the drum too. And it picks up, it can pick up there too. So you can use a little bit of style when you're playing these things. And I always wanted some. I never had this game. I never had the peripheral. And now I get a chance to bang on the drum all day. Thanks to Lance I'm pretty excited about it.
Have you tried DK, whatever the hell it's called? What's this called? Jungle Beat. Have you played it yet with the controller?
I have not, but I'm ordering the real deal game so I can play it on my original GameCube. So I'm still waiting on it to arrive. I could fire it up on my Wii because it does have GameCube controllers, and I have an SD card which I can plug into my Wii, and I could totally fire up some old GameCube games and try it out. I'm trying to be patient. I waited this long.
Also, note that this is a game with with Donkey Kong's name on it, and he's in it. Yeah. That's important. Okay.
Yeah, and he's got his DK tie on and everything.
Yeah, never forget. Never.
Yeah, I mean it's not Diddy Kong, it's Donkey Kong.
Yeah. It's Diddy. Yeah. Diddy McDonkey Pants, I like to call him.
Diddy.
Well, look at us with our cool new retro things today. Thank you everybody for your kindness. Yeah. And if you got something you're just like, I don't want this anymore. We have a good home for it. One of us will take it.
We do, and we take care of all of our stuff, and we try to make it look worth playing and displaying. And any chance I get any of the kids that come over, I'm constantly pestering these kids to, hey, check out this old stuff, and you'd be surprised at the looks they give me. Sometimes, lots of times, it's just that look of why old man, but occasionally it's like, oh, you can see a little spark. Yeah. You can see a little spark in their head go, oh, yeah, maybe I like video games in a different way than I thought before.
Also, look how things have changed.
But it happens.
Look how strange this is.
I know. Look at that. It is as large. Is that
that's a 16
That's
Pro
a
16
Max?
Pro Max. This thing has enough data on it to hold every Sega game ever made up until current.
And laugh
in the face of this thing. And the battery lasts, I can get 2 days out of this with lots of use. This is going to give me about 20 minutes of the worst spent battery time ever. But it doesn't matter. This is a blip in time that I want in my life again. And I have.
Yeah, at least it's the 80s hardware or 90s. When did the game? I'm trying to remember when Game Gear came out. 90s. Yeah. We pre-show we had looked back through the Byte magazine. We went back all the way to the 70s, and man, that was a different era. With instead of like type in games or anything else, it was like all schematics.
Yep.
Like, hey, you got to build a computer, and Byte magazine is here to help.
Yeah. Think of this,
though. You know how to do electronics.
Think of this math. From 1970 to 1980, 10 years. 80 to 90, 20 years. So 70 to 90, that's a 20-year period of massive change in electronics, video games, all this stuff, right? Massive change. Do the same thing from 04 to today. It's not that massive. I mean, there's some stuff, but it's not that massive. Like, we're not even close.
Not especially not the end user, right? You come to a point, it's like, I've been exploring this a lot. We're going to get to the show, I promise. I've been exploring the 8-bit computers a lot, and I'm like, a lot of things that I'm like, I could write a basic program to do a bunch of the, things that I kind of like to do now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's still, I imagine, it's that survivor instinct a lot of us have, where it's like, well, what would happen if I had to use a Commodore? What if I had to go camping? What if I had to live outside?
Right.
Well, could I do it? Could I survive on a Commodore 64?
I think you could.
I think I could.
Yeah.
I think I could do it.
Of anyone I know, it's you who could, dude.
Right.
Are you kidding me? You're ready to go.
What kind of game is that we always play like this? Like, it's like we love that survival thing. It's like, oh, what if I could? What's the minimum I could do to survive?
Yeah.
If I had a stick, I could surely catch some fish.
It's primary to human survival and to our evolution. And so when you have a TV show, for example, about people surviving with nothing, that's compelling television because it speaks to our very primal nature. And I think some of this stuff is just a side note to that. It's all kind of connected to that.
And what's interesting is last week we covered Donkey Kong Country, which is very primitive, very adventure in the in the great wild. And this week we're covering Vectorman, and it's all about the future and how we really effed up. It's 2049, and we're like, we're gonna leave the planet for a while. I didn't realize how much Wally was in this game, by the way.
Oh, big time.
We're leaving the planet. We're leaving the trash bots to clean it up. We'll be back after our vacation.
That's right.
Roomba, get on it.
Get on it, Roomba. Well, here it is. Let's talk about it.
Shall we play a game?
Indeed we shall. We're going to talk about the game Vectorman, which sounded like this. This kicks butt, by the way, this track. Yeah. You hear that? Tell me that doesn't make you want to dance or something. Listen to this bit. It's automatically one of my favorite Sega soundtracks.
Oh, so yeah, good. It is so hot. Yeah. It's so hot, in fact, that there was a series of Sega CDs that came out later, and this is one of them, Sega Music CDs, and they remastered these songs and put it out there because it's so damn good.
It's really good. It's some of the best music they've ever done, which is ironic because 2 is not as good. The music just took a dive. I don't know what happened with 2. We'll get to 2. 2's fine as a game, but the music really suffered in 2, and I don't know what happened there. But anyway, this is Vectorman. Vectorman was, at the time, their answer to Donkey Kong Country, if you can believe it or not. You're like, well, wait a minute, what do they have to do with each other? Here's what they have to do with each other. They are these pre-rendered sprites that created like extra layers of animation and lighting and things that at the time nothing quite looked as cool as that, right? And this game was like, hey, what if it is as cool as that? What if we made it look that good? And Sega's like, we can do it too. It's not just you guys and your freaking Donkey Kong IP. We can make it up a thing and call it Vectorman, and we're all good. The downside of Vectorman, in my opinion, is it's kind of chaotic. Moment to moment, it's pretty fun. Shooting's fun, jumping, platforming's good, all that stuff's all right. But the world itself, like what you're trying to traverse, it's kind of chaos. It's kind of insane. And the timer makes me want to kill somebody. I freaking hate the timer so much.
You just described what Sega kind of encapsulated. So I've heard some people recently talk about, I've seen some people say, I went back and watched Goonies, didn't quite hold as much. I don't remember there being that much screaming. And it's because we were screaming a lot during that time. It was the way of the world at the time. And Sega was definitely part of that energy, right? They wanted things to be fast and frenetic, and it's like it was kind of a little bit of a proof too. It was both something that was going on socially and is something that was also going on internally, going faster's better. Mario kind of goes the deliberate pace. That's Nintendo. We're Sega. We're cool. We're fast. Yeah. And look at our hardware. It can do it. Right? Yeah. It's a proof concept. But like what you said, the game suffers. Blue Sky Studios, it kind of, I think, leaned too far into that with the timing, because one of the things I loved about Donkey Kong Country was the exploration. In this one, they also have exploration. You're rewarded by, finding hidden areas to, collect everything along the way. But then they put a clock on it, and it's like, well, did I have time to look?
Yeah, I don't like that. This is the same problem. By the way, Nintendo's not free from this. When they did the original Pikmin game, on the GameCube pissed me off because Pikmin was a game that you should feel encouraged and available to explore and dork around.
Right.
And also experiment. And they always had this timer going, and it made you feel like you didn't have time to try to explore. You just had to hurry up, mainline everything. And you would lose if you didn't do it. And it was even worse, I think, because it was like a overall time thing. So you had to I can't remember how it worked in Pikmin, but I know it annoyed me and it drove me crazy. Games do this, but I hate them in every game, okay? You could even say, well, Scott, what about all the early Mario games? They had timers. They did, but they were generous timers. And it was a 2D side-scroller that didn't have a whole lot of verticality to it. At least the original ones didn't. So that didn't bother me that much. But when it comes to games like this, where it's just like, all right, from go, you need to hurry up. Don't dick around. I'm like, well, I like to dick around. I like
to dick around too, especially if you're encouraging me to explore and find stuff. And I don't do this often. I don't like to turn on cheats, but when it's required, I did. The first cheat I turned on, and the only cheat I turned on, was the timer. Yep. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So I just turned the timer off. And so much better experience.
Yeah, it's a better game.
I get where they were going for, but it just doesn't work.
It's a better game without it, and I don't know how that didn't happen in testing. I think they would have had a way bigger hit. People would talk about it more. They would have more respect for it. And when you would bring up things like DK Country and what a classic it was, part of the conversation would be, oh, yeah, it's right up there with Vectorman. Instead of us saying, Well, Vectorman tried to do it, and they didn't quite pull it off. And I'm telling you, the timer's 90% of it.
I don't think. Okay, so Sega at this point in time, this was near the end of the Sega Genesis. This is when things started really kind of falling apart a little bit. People weren't communicating like they should be, and everybody was kind of like broken up into teams, and people were doing their own thing. And that's what was going on here. Blue Sky was kind of like given, because they had a couple of successful titles with Sega. They were trustworthy. We've covered the Jurassic Park games here on Play Retro.
Sure.
And so they showed they could do the right things, and so they did. And so I guess they didn't get questioned much on why is there a stupid timer here, because it looks amazing. It's just like
it's a beautiful game.
How you feel when you got Donkey Kong Country. It's like, oh, 3D on a 2D platform. This makes no sense. Sign me up. And it's fast. It's fun. Like you said, moment to moment gameplay is amazing. You feel like a badass because, first of all, you're Orbot. Now, Brian don't usually like things that like Rayman, where appendages float independently. I don't care for that very much. For some reason, Vectorman here, he's orbs and balls, and he transforms, and I feel like he's like operating under some kind of magnetic operation, which makes sense for a robot, right? Doesn't make sense for an organic creature not to have, But anyway, I'll get off.
No, I get that you can. I get that that's how you can let that go, because I knew you weren't much of a Rayman fan, and it's kind of the similar problem. But also, it doesn't bug you that they call it Vectorman and there are 0 vectors involved. There's no
absolutely
vectors.
Bugs me as Vectorman, but that's the theme. Vectorman is going against the lead, who was originally Raster, so he was like the main program that was controlling. So here's the story: humans have fled the Earth while the garbage robots clean up everything, and the head is Raster, right? Vector and Raster. If you're not into graphics or anything like that, that means something. One is a scalable graphics, whereas the other is it's rendered, right? And so Raster is the bad guy, right? And Vector is the good guy. He's the future. And so
yeah, but ironically, Vectorman is made up of many raster images. That's what he is.
Exactly. The irony is great. I love it.
Yeah.
So the raster actually gets hooked up to a nuclear warhead on accident. The story gets real flimsy here, but he turns into was it War Machine? And so Vectorman's the only person or the only entity that is away at the time, throwing away trash in the sun. And meanwhile, back home, all the robots are under control of the new War Machine.
Yeah.
Right. And so he comes back and you get to fight against that. So
hey, that sounds about right. What a dumb story.
What a stupid story, but I am all freaking in on Vectorman. I loved playing this game. It's challenging, it's difficult. I love shooting the CRTs, even though it breaks my heart thinking about them blowing up. I love collecting the multipliers. It's a collection marathon, right? There's energy orbs everywhere that you pick up. When you destroy anything, you pick up more energy orbs. It's just a constant collection, and I love it.
Yeah, I like that too. But the best thing you did was turn off the timer. And I'm telling you at home, if you have a way to do that, meaning you've got, if you're probably emulating this, then you definitely do.
Right.
Use that one. It's not even a cheat. I'm telling you, it's literally, it's not a cheat. It's a way of making the game good.
Right.
The game is suddenly good when you don't have a clock to beat.
The game is good. And what you can do if you do it quickly, Sega has been selling their games in ROM format independently for a while now on different systems. Yeah. Steam is one place.
Yeah.
If you go get Vectorman on Steam, you got to hurry because they're going to stop selling these games very shortly. And Vectorman's one of them. You can take those ROMs and run them in another emulator, like, something like Mike controls everything, like RetroArch.
Yeah.
There's, you can get in there and then you can turn on your cheats.
Right.
But, I guess you could go get an Action Replay and you could turn on the cheats too, I suppose, on your regular Sega Genesis machine. Anyway, hurry up and do it because that is absolutely the best way to play it is to turn off that dumbass timer.
Yeah,
like Scott said. Biggest complaint of the game.
Yeah, it's a garbage choice. They screwed up.
They screwed up.
They really did.
The other thing they kind of failed on too. I don't want to get too far on what they failed on because obviously this game is beloved by the people who love it. It's a great challenging game, but one of the things I think they could have improved this game was the availability of the transforms. The transforms are really cool. You can turn into like a drill, for instance, is like one of the first things you do. So you can break through the floor somewhere so you can get access areas you not have access otherwise. But instead of like banking those things, you have to use them immediately. So as soon as you activate it, it's available for a certain amount of time and you have to use it. So that's usually a clue. It's like, oh, I transform into a drill, so there must be something around here that I need to drill into. You transform into a bomb. That's pretty cool. You kind of know immediately. It's like, oh, I got to go. So everything's very intuitive in this game. You don't have to think. You can turn your brain off.
Yeah, it does. You can
Vectorman.
picture a future where if this would have really taken off for them at the time, because obviously it's got its fans in retrospect, but at the time it wasn't a big seller.
It did okay.
It did okay.
It did okay.
It wasn't Sonic numbers, I guess is what I'm saying. But had it been, you could have seen Sega, even though they did work on prototypes, you could have seen them continue this series with future consoles, including stuff like, a Dreamcast version of this game where you played a lot more Metroidvania style. Your abilities are acquired over time. You being a drill or a missile is a thing that you can pop when you need it, not just for the moment. Like you could see how new games and the 3D games that were coming when actual vectors were going to be used, you could see how this had a future. There was a path forward if they'd have kept at it. And I don't know why they didn't exactly, but whatever.
Well, I mean, it was a transition time for Sega, especially that this game came out after I think the Saturn had been out for like a month. So it was already available. We were already moving forward. We all thought we wanted 3D, and anything that looked like a side-scrolling, what we had gotten used to, which we gotten really good at, right? Because I mean, this game is hard now because back then we were all playing, side-scrolling, platformers. We were all playing them, so we're good at them, right? We're all good at that.
That's all there was. Playing.
Yeah, that's all there was. Now we're looking back like, shit, this is hard. I'm used to playing first-person shooters. But for the Sega Saturn, this didn't make it over there. It would have been great there. Like in Japan, the Sega Saturn did its best because people were still accepting, fighting games that were
2D games,
sprite-based stuff. So so it was still doing well there, but in America, not as much. Once again, Sega suffering from what their identity is internationally.
Not the left hand not talking to the right hand. I mean, literally Japan and America being at odds with each other, like fighting more than Nintendo was fighting them, which is really stupid. That's what killed them, in my opinion, overall. But
absolutely. Plus trying to be first to market because they've been last to market other times, and just not knowing what PlayStation was or Sony was going to do. And but man, Blue Sky really made an amazing game here. I love the cover art for this box. They got like it's got the classic Sega Genesis red band on the left hand side, and Vectorman is kind of pushing it out like he's like hitting it with one hand. So it kind of like gives you the idea, oh, this is 3D, man. This is a 3D game. But my favorite part of this game, and I knew nothing about this, was there was a huge contest. So they did so what they spent a lot of their marketing money on, because they were already marketing everything else, and it's like, we've got a game for the Genesis late in life. Who's going to want this? We're trying to sell these 32Xs and these CDs. And so they had a contest, play to win. Randomly selected cartridges have a chance to win, built right in. I don't think I've seen anything like this. You essentially
weird.
You could get the Charlie in the Chocolate Factory winning ticket, but it would be like Charlie would have to eat the whole candy bar before he could find out he won. So you could have a winning cart and not knowing it until you beat the game. So at the final screen, this is in the manual, it'll tell you in the manual, a final screen saying you win will give you a secret phone number and address. So look at all the hoops you have to jump through. I'm like, okay, so you got the winning cartridge. You have to read the manual, or at least notice in the front of the box that it says there's a contest to even play. Then you got to beat the game, and then you got to have a secret phone number and an address, because they're probably going to call that number, probably get some kind of code, and then you got to mail that shit off. So, so there's the prize was, here's the prizes. In total, they were giving away $160,000 worth of stuff in 1995 money.
Damn.
First place got $25,000 grand prize, and then there was 10,000 prizes, and then I actually probably would be just as excited to win this one. Over 90 Sega Saturns with Virtua Fighter. So that's exciting. And so I went on eBay looking, thinking, I just want a cart. And I'm not going to win because this contest is obviously over.
Yeah.
But man, wouldn't it be cool to have one of the game-winning carts? I can't find anybody that either knew it
or won
or mentioned it.
Yeah.
You know
why? Because that's a really hard contest. That's not just I opened it up and there was a thing in there. My cartridge is gold. You open it up, you have to play it to completion to find out if you got it.
And then you would win. I mean, how would you even know? So you get to the final screen and it says you win. Is that all it says? Because I would just assume if I got to the final screen and I beat the game and it said I won, I would just be like, okay, cool. Now if they had a phone number on there, I'd be like, oh, that's weird. Yeah. Should I call that phone number? Looks like long distance. I don't know. But I found this a very fascinating contest that I've heard practically nothing about. And I would love to get a hold of a winning card just to have it to complete the game and get that screen pulled up and just to know what it feels like. And I think it actually in Vectorman 2, the manual, I think they announced the grand prize winner.
Did they?
I'll have to go back. Yeah, I think they actually put it in Vectorman.
So someone did win then. Somebody won.
Oh, yeah, somebody won.
Okay.
So that's the question. When you start doing this math, do you send out, is there only one winning cart? Or do you send out multiple winning carts and look at the odds and go, probably only one person's going to win.
Well, that's why they did so much money. That's why they were saying, like, let's make this really pay out because probably no one's going to win it. This might explain why the soundtrack in 2 is so bad. Maybe they were supposed to spend that money on that.
Right, they didn't plan on anybody actually claiming the prize.
Yeah.
And it's like, shit.
From a reception standpoint, it's interesting because this game was the highest selling Sega game by far that year.
Right.
That beat anything they were doing on any other console, including the Genesis. It was 500,000 copies in the US, which back then was a lot of copies of anything. If you did 500,000 to a million, you had a very successful game. And it made them one of their top selling games ever. But that was short-lived because that exact same holiday season, Donkey Kong Country 2 moved more than 900,000 copies over the holiday. So they got whooped.
Oh my gosh.
They got whooped.
Oh, I gotta continue reading. I didn't read all of this little thing on the contest. Now, I think because of gambling laws in different states and things, I don't think you can just have someone purchase a card in order to win something. So you hear all the time. It's like, no purchase required, right? You can all enter. You can also participate by mailing in a 3x5 card with your hand printed name, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is here, entries must be received by 7/31/96, limit 1 per entry per stamp envelope. Contest open to Canada. Where was it at? It said something about you had to call, get the information, and then you had to have it sent in within 10 days. 10 days.
10 days of purchase?
In the mail
in
1996?
No, F that noise. That ain't
random
happening.
drawing.
Yeah.
I bet that's how people won too. Winners will be chosen by a random drawing.
That's probably how. By the way, something I noticed on the box that I like is I'll pull this up here. He's knocking the N and the E out. Look at that. He's like popping.
He is. Yeah, don't you love that? Makes it really feel like it's 3D. And behind him is the stupidest enemy in the whole game.
Yeah,
it's those darn wasp things that show up. They're bees. Like they're metal, just like in Donkey Kong. For some reason, I guess we liked it in the 90s. It's like, hey, we should have random annoying wasp things to kill your creature or your character, because
I also think the logo looks like fruit. Looks like fruit to me, like a lime.
I like the intro screen of Vectorman when you start, because it kind of it really feels
like the balls swarming around.
They're selling the 3D aspect of this thing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I have
I guess
I have a bit of that. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, there's this beginning bit. So there's your blue sky logo. Nothing to do with the
logo. So right in the middle.
Let's get some sound.
Yeah,
here you go.
It's got that old CRT test pattern
balls.
look.
Look at the balls.
Yeah, look at the balls. They're blowing in.
And then one big ball's left. Oh, big ball.
Big ball.
Big ball junior.
Vectorman.
But it's important to note
does
math
it Raster can't.
These were all pre-rendered balls. They had good scaling on that device, so that worked really well.
Yep.
So it was a hell of a looking thing. Like the reviews at the time were like, I've never seen a game that looked like this before. People are losing their shit over it. Reviewers.
Yeah. It was a really good answer to Donkey Kong Country. It was just short-lived, and they didn't really explore it anymore. And it really should have went naturally. They should have tried it here because they weren't getting a lot of good traction on the 32X or the CD and the Saturn just coming out. They're trying to figure out what they want their personality to be now. Will they be a more mature type of Sega? Will they return? Who's going to be their mascot? Will they, the Sega team is working on, Nights into Dreams. They're not working on a Sega, working on a Sonic property. It's a lot of things, a lot of balls.
Yeah.
In the air, and so we had a lot of really cool ideas that just kind of fell through the cracks. And Vectorman, unfortunately, was one of those.
Yeah, he fell through the cracks. His balls bounced all through the cracks. Check this out. Earth. Yeah. Here's your story. The beginning of it. Earth. It's 2049, and Earth cities, forests, and ice caps are fouled with toxic sludge. Humanity has escaped to the stars, leaving mechanical Orbots to clean it up. That's Wally. Right. That's Wally to a T, dude.
It's Wally. It's 100% Wally. Yeah. I was like, oh my! When I was playing this, I didn't realize that was the story behind it. We were doing Fern Gully. We were doing a lot during the '90s that was, environmentally conscious, and so they worked their way into a lot of stories.
Yeah.
And this is one of them.
It's pretty dumb. So it's dumb.
Yeah. Instead of having Superman collect all the nukes and throw it into the sun, we just attached a nuke to one of the robots. And things went bad.
Yeah,
I still don't know if we were escaping to the sun, to the stars. I don't understand why that's not human nature. It's like, hey, we're gonna escape to the stars, but we should really leave these robots behind to clean up behind ourselves. That doesn't sound like us.
No, that doesn't sound like us at all. Does it? Not at all.
Right.
I don't know why that's always been a weird thing to me. We would probably be here to suffer the consequences of our poor decisions. We're not going anywhere. We're not ready to go someplace.
Yeah. Come on.
That'd be nice, but come on, I don't buy it.
I was glad, I was glad to see this game. Never got to play it back in the day, even though I had a Genesis. I had moved by 95. I think I already had my PlayStation 1 or was getting ready to get a PlayStation 1. I wasn't interested in any games, even if it was something that looked 3D, pre-rendered sprites, meaning that they were pre-rendered on a computer elsewhere. So typically up until this point, we were drawing our sprites in whatever way, more cartoony, right? They didn't have a lot of dimensionality to it, and so we were hungry for things that looked like they were 3D with that that shading. Everything looks spherical, everything looks like it's jumping out at you. So we would have to pre-render these things and then put those into the sprite tables of the games, and it was just so we can make use of 2D technology. So but we were going places, right? We were going to Vectorman 2.
Yeah, we were going to Vectorman 2. Let me show you a little picture of that box. There's your Vectorman 2 as presented by Sega. It sounded like this. It's not quite the same groove. It's okay. It's all
following year, just like we did on Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, yeah, back to back back then. That's all you ever did, it feels like. This game is interesting in that it is the last one. There was no 3. Three started. They started working on 3. They pitched it for Saturn and for Dreamcast. It got kiboshed. Then they pitched it again for the PlayStation 2 and for maybe GameCube. I don't remember. But anyway,
on the PlayStation 2, they made it all the way to a workable demo. I mean, it was there. You ought to see up. I don't know if I linked to it, but there is a great resource of the PS2 version re-emerging after its E3 death. It was premiered as a demo or prototype at E3, and it was not well received, and they just killed it.
So did you have a chance? I couldn't find any video of this thing. Does that exist somewhere?
On 3, yeah, that exists. Yeah, it's out there. I think there's like 5 playable prototypes, and there's some.
PS2,
I don't know if there's. It's very early stuff though. It's first person, or I'm sorry, third person. Vectorman, and it doesn't feel like Vectorman at all. I mean, you could see that it's an orb guy.
Well, here it is.
But it's
look at this. I mean, this is more like a Transformer looking dude.
Right. In which makes sense, right? Because that's what he does. He's a transformer. He's a transformer.
Yeah, you were heading toward an era where 3D was everything, so I get that they would need to modernize this thing, but this could be any game. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And that was the problem.
That was the problem, yeah. I don't look at this and go, Vectorman. I look at this and go, Transformers. You know?
Right. And the problem was the first two were open environments because of the way things were working. So in the first one, especially, like, there's parallaxing backgrounds because they pre-rendered those as well, and it looks really good. And then when you move into the 3D world, you have to do what we did in the early, which was corridor shooters. The reason why we were using corridors is because you didn't have to render as much background and environmental things. And so the same thing. So you went from something that was very open, even though it was, 2D, but you were in a very open world, especially in 2, because in 2, you gets more organic. You're back on Earth, but you're like in some kind of invasion, and you're like in some kind of Amazon setting instead of being in the cities, where the first one was more like where you we didn't talk about all the great boss fights in the first one.
Jesus, the boss fights are awesome. I'll give them that.
Oh man, oh my gosh. But anyway, back to the point was, in the PS2, the later versions, once it moves to 3D, it becomes a more closed environment because of the technology, and it actually suffers from the technology instead of taking advantage of the technology like 1 and 2 did.
Yeah.
In the old hardware.
2's fine though. I'm not going to say it's a bad game. I think it's quite good. The music's not as good, but the game itself is fine. It still has a timer. I don't know who thinks that's a good idea. Stop doing that. Look at that down there. 8 minutes. You have to look at it too the whole time.
It's they're a little more forgiving with the timer on this one, and the boss fights are still pretty monumental. It's typical boss fights. You up against something much larger than you, attack, dodge, but it was so much more fun the first one because you're fighting against a robot with a warhead. And actually, I kind of hated the first boss encounter because you encounter Warhead several times through, but you don't destroy him the first time. But your first encounter with him is like you transform into like this train on a track, and he's like underneath you, and they're doing this almost like Nintendo's Mode 7 sprite scaling, rotating thing, and it's very disorienting, and you can't tell where you need to jump. And I think that fails. In the second one, they don't really do that. You're into going against the bosses. There's this side scrolling stuff, thank God. And it's all back to the same stuff, but I found this one, Vectorman 2, to be a lot darker, not necessarily in tone, but visually it's a lot darker. I had trouble seeing things. I actually had to up it. I was like, is my ROM messed up? I played it on my Steam Deck. I played it on I didn't talk about how I played it this week, but I played
how'd you play it? Curious.
I played it on the Genesis Mini. Genesis Mini, the first one that came out, came with Vectorman 1. I played it on there. A really good experience. Fast, everything. I played the second one on the Mini 2. Now, that one wasn't as popular in the US, but it was I got that one. And Vectorman 2 on that one, still dark. Even on what I consider to be, at least a well thought out implementation of Vectorman on a Sega Genesis piece of hardware. And yeah, like I said, it's so dark. It gets brighter later, but when you first start out, you're dropping in the dark. I love the opening animation of Vectorman 2 because you're basically a space trucker. Because they didn't tell you in the first one how the robots got the trash into the sun. That's how we're getting rid of it, right? We'd have robots on Earth. They collect the stuff and then they take it to the sun and destroy it. Out of sight, out of mind. And he's like in like this cargo transport, and he looks so much like a space trucker. He's in the front seat. It's all pre-rendered animation, and he's dancing around to his music, and he's jamming out. And then like this alien force comes and blows it up, and then he falls to Earth. And that's actually a pretty fun way to introduce it to the game, because you can. I don't know if you knew this when you were playing it when you first started, because I didn't realize it the first time I played through. You just falling down, you're collecting the energy orbs as you go down, and fighting aliens as you go down. You can actually spin up, so you can actually, like, I guess this is tail or something. So you can pause where you don't fall anymore, and you just can sit there and hover. And I thought that was actually pretty cool. The way to enter into the game, going from this animation this kind of fun and kooky, and then get blown up, and then getting pulled back to, I'm assuming, Earth, and fighting your way through, and then jumping straight into the game. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's all right.
I kind of like that part.
My biggest, not biggest beef, the thing I think would have changed the course of the history of this game and made it more successful is playing off another IP the way that Nintendo did when they decided to do Donkey Kong Country. It was, clearly Mario adjacent and stayed within the rules and the world of Mario. And I think they could have done something with some Sonic side stuff. I don't know what necessarily, but you could have done something cool. You're Dr. Robotnik. You got this cool robot that's your body, basically, and you do a lot of the same stuff technically. Like, I think there's ways to do that. By the way, here's that one of these bosses is so hard to see. It's like a mouth back there.
Oh yeah. It gets really, like I said, it's very organic. Everything you're running through, like rainforest of some sort.
Weird. Yeah.
And all the bosses are like these. Yeah, like this time you're fighting a big giant mouth in the dark. That's a lot of fun.
A lot of stuff in the dark in 2. 2 is dark.
Yeah, which is fine, I suppose. I guess you could turn up the brightness on your CRT.
Yeah.
I suppose if you wanted to.
If you had to. I know.
Yeah, but the good news is no one complained about it being more of the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't that. It very much felt like they tried a lot of different new things. The game felt fresh and new, so I'll give that to them.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it didn't, I still think the first one's better, but maybe I'll go back at some point in time and play the second one. Really, the most important thing to me for both these games was playing this and getting my retro achievements. This is the most fun I've had getting retro achievements. We talked about that in the past, retroachievements.org. You can sign up there. You can hook it up to your RetroArch. A lot of different systems accepts it. And, there's different challenges that are fan-made challenges. And this one has a lot of fun ones.
Yeah.
And you can still get those even if you turn on the no timer BS. Oh, there are built-in game cheats, too. We didn't talk about this on Vectorman 1. And I didn't try it on Vectorman 2, but definitely the first Vectorman. If you cheat, you wouldn't get the good ending. You would get the ending that says, how about doing it now without cheating?
Oh shit. They call you on it. Yeah.
Right. I wonder if you cheated, if you could still win the contest, because you got that win screen at the end. Oh my God, there's so many variables that could potentially destroy you on that contest.
Also, this some of these levels they better have the epilepsy warning on these boxes, because good Lord, this game.
Vectorman 1 and 2 both have a lot of flashing. As a matter of fact, one of the I think it's a nuke or something. All the power-ups, you got multipliers and power-ups that help you get through the stages. Yeah. And one of them is like it's a screen destroyer. You hit it and it just destroys everything on screen, including your eyes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think they had the epilepsy warnings yet, but man, warning. If you don't like flashing things, don't play Vectorman.
Don't play Vectorman.
1 or 2.
Yeah, 2 in particular. 2 is really flashy.
Yeah.
And dark when it isn't. So it's like even more shocking.
So it goes from flat dark to just bright lights.
We'll go play them where you want to play them. I would say a comparable game, a more modern game, might be like Mega Man 11 or something. There's a lot about this series, about the Vectorman series, that owes its life a little bit to the Mega Man series as well. And that
Contra and Mega Man both were big influences. So if you like playing those types of games, this is more Mega Man, like you said, though. And I didn't think about that until I started thinking about the name Vectorman. Mega Man, obviously influenced, right?
Clearly. I mean, I think there's no doubt about it. The way it plays, just running, shooting, platforming, it's Mega Man in a lot of ways.
Mega Man is a trash guy in the future.
Trash Man.
Trash 2049 also, I was glad about that. I was like, hey, did we know about Blade Runner 2040? Did they talk about the idea of 2049 in the original Blade Runner? I was trying to remember. No. I know it was called Blade Runner 2049, but I was trying to remember if there was references in the first one.
They didn't talk about it in the first one. There's no time travel, but there's I honestly, I don't know why that was chosen by the writers, but 2049 doesn't have any, as far as I know, no connection to Vectorman. That would be funny though.
That would be funny. Wouldn't I love it?
You hear Denis Villeneuve going, to make my new movie, I am going to reference Vectorman for the year. It'd be a weird thing.
Right.
All right.
Before you say that, like you said, if you're wanting to play this, emulation's fine, especially if you're wanting to get those retro achievements. But really the best way to play this is if you can get one of these Sega Genesis minis. They're still, fairly inexpensive, especially the 2 if you want to play Vectorman 2.
Yeah.
But quickly, hurry, get the Sega Genesis collection games because there's a whole bunch of them getting pulled. And I'm hoping that Sega's going to do something with them. But those are just so easy to purchase off Steam, and the ROMs are right there in the set, and you can just transport those to whatever emulation you want later on. 99 cents, I think.
They're not going to buy themselves either. All right?
No.
So play them. Get in there.
Play them.
Let's play a game of our own devising. It's called Guess Our Game.
Destroy it.
We take an old game, we give a year and a platform, and then 4 possible answers, and we try to trick each other into giving the wrong answer. If we get it right, well, it means we're big winners. If we get it wrong, nothing really happens except you hear that. All right.
And I go home, and all I do is I lay in bed at night if I lose.
That's right.
Thinking,
and just rocking back and forth with the blanket over you with a flashlight. It's really sad. Anyway, Brian, I'm going to start this week with a platform and a year. PC, so the personal computer.
Ooh.
And the year is 1997. All right.
Oh, so I probably have Windows 95. Later in the year, I could have had Windows 98. All right, probably a DOS game then. Maybe. All right.
Here's your sounds, and then we'll talk about it. Here you go. Whoops. Here we go.
5, 4, 3, hey,
Okay, listen to this coming up here. Listen to this. Ow, that hurt. All right.
Ow, that hurt.
Ow, that
okay,
hurts
so it sounds like a helicopter game.
Well,
I'm gonna go. No.
Here are your options: A, Carmageddon; B, Road 76; C, Road 89; or D, Carmageddon 2 Madness Edition. So
interesting.
So again, we have some possible sequelitis going on here, but we got A, Carmageddon; B, Road 76; Road 89 is C, and D, Carmageddon 2 Madness Edition.
Are you Carmageddon it yet? Let's see. So I never played the Road games. I did play Carmageddon, and I want to say Carmageddon was earlier than 97, but I'm not 100% on that. So I'm going to say, Scott, give me the D.
Give you the D. Is it the D? No, D was a trick. It's Carmageddon. It's A.
Dang it.
Woo!
It was the first one. Shoot.
I don't think there was a second one. Is there a second one? Because I made that up, that title. I don't know.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I think there's a Carmageddon 2. I don't know if it's called Madness Edition or whatnot, but it feels like 97 is too late for Carmageddon, but I guess
you're right. Carmageddon 2 came out a year later. It was called Carmageddon 2 Caropolis. Carpocalypse now.
Carpocalypse. Yeah.
It was real dumb. Yeah. Well, all right. I feel good about my chances now moving forward.
You did pretty good. You did pretty good, Scott.
What's my platter? What's my platform?
So we got a 12-ounce platter.
Great.
On for the Sega Saturn in the year just 1 year later, 1998.
The year of the actual Carmageddon sequel. All right, let's see what we got here. I'll play some sound here.
I'm here to save you. Hold on.
I'm scared.
Stay calm. You'll be fine. Coordinates set.
Coordinates confirmed. Transport.
Coordinates.
Transport complete. Here's the first one.
Oh, wow. This is so...
Listen for a sound before the explosion, okay, Tillis?
Okay, there's this is one of the first clips where I could say to you, in equal parts, this sounds like something I should know and something I would never know.
Yeah, and probably the reason why is because the Sega Saturn had a lot of their games felt like they had a very intentional pacing. and the audio would often be pristine, but very separated. So you got those long pauses in between things. And so it's probably one of the things you're recognizing is kind of the theme or the patterns of how the Sega Saturn works, but you may not have played this game. I did not play it.
Well, what are my options? I'll see if I can figure this out.
All right, Scott. So here we come with some Sega Saturn from 1998 games, and these are all real games. They are A, 6-inch, my darling.
Oh, goodness.
B, right, 6-inch, my darling. Or B, Burning Rangers.
Okay.
Or C, The House of the Dead. Or D, Farland Saga.
Farland Saga.
All real Sega Saturn games that came out in 1990.
I'm taking House of the Dead off here because if I remember right, it was a more accurate arcade translation, and none of that's in that. Right. Even though it has bad dialogue, clearly. Burning Rangers? I don't know what that is. Farland Saga?
You know you want 6-inch, my darling.
I do, but it's
real game name.
I don't know if that's it. It just seems 6-inch, my darling.
Almost made that D.
Of course you did. I'm gonna go with this this Burning Rangers B. I've this is pure guess, but it just feels right.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Scott.
Damn
you got it.
Oh, I did.
Bing.
What is that game? I completely guessed. Burning Rangers.
Right.
Let's take a look here. Burning. Does anyone in the chat remember this game? Rangers.
I didn't. I'd never seen it before until recently. I saw someone playing it, and I was like, "Oh shit, I need to play this." I was going. I'm having a real because I think didn't Sega Saturn turn 30 this year, so this was like So this is like early release for them, and so I'm looking at the different titles, and Burning Rangers look very interesting to me.
Oh, this reminds me of that's ugly.
It's developed by Sonic Team too, by the way. And that was one of the things that really got my attention.
It's really ugly, but I think this reminds me of what's the one they turned it into almost like a live service game on the Dreamcast. But in the original Genesis versions of this, we've talked about it on the show. I can't think of the names of this game. It reminds me of those, whatever those are. I can't think of it.
Whatever
Someone in the chat's going to know what I'm talking about, and it's going to piss me off. But this is you forget how ugly 3D was on the Saturn. It was an ugly time.
I didn't have a Sega Saturn. I'd moved straight onto the PlayStation, and going back is such a weird feeling because I have this fake nostalgia. It is such of its time that I can play any of these games and they all feel familiar, but also I never played them. But I was just amazed that it was developed by the Sonic team. And so it's one this I really want to play. It's an elite group of firefighters.
That guy's name was Big Land Man.
Big Land Man. Take that.
Wait, is that right? Yeah, look, his name he's 35, he's male, and his name is Big Land Man.
I'm the Big Land Man.
Are there other people? Oh, it used the big circle controller. The
Saturn. Yeah, that big old Saturn looking thing. They call it the Saturn controller.
That thing was a beast.
I think it's official. Yeah,
it's a pizza.
I want to play that one.
I think it was pizza as hell. Well, I'm curious now to kind of maybe go and check it out. This is really ugly though. Holy shit.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of it's almost got like mech suits, but you're putting out fires with, it just looks really cool. I could be totally wrong, but people, they've praised the soundtrack, which gives me hope. And I thought the audio, the voice work sounded pretty good, but it's good job, Scott. You nailed it. Even without knowing, are you sure you weren't really wanting to say 6-inch, my darling?
I wanted to say it the whole time. Are you kidding? I still want to say it.
Yeah.
But I had to go with what sounded right, and Burning Rangers, for some reason, sounded right. House of the Dead, it was all wrong, because I've heard that audio before. Farland Saga was almost my pick. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's good, whatever Farland Saga is. Actually,
is.
Let's look real quick. Farland Saga, available for the deal.
For the deal?
Wait. That was a Saturn game?
Was it not? Maybe I got her mixed in.
I put Sage, like an idiot.
Sage, yeah, Farland Sage, totally different, and we don't put any sage in our dressing during Thanksgiving because some people don't care for it. But
I don't even know what sage is. What is sage?
And it's like that green
goo
herb that makes some people go, ugh.
What
is this?
Oh, like
why'd you put grass in here?
Right. I know what you mean. Oh, look, it has like animated anime.
Yeah, it's animated anime, and I think this is only released in Japan. Some of these, it gets kind of tough to find enough U.S. releases.
Oh my gosh,
but it looks really good.
It does look. It looks like this is like a traditional JRPG or something.
Yeah.
Oh, the eyes on this anime girl. I can't look at it. All right. Well, there you have it. That is our game. I win today. Brian loses.
But didn't we both win?
I think the real winners here are people that avoided today's show. Just kidding. Those who listened at home, they're the winners. All right. Okay. What are we doing now? Oh, we got to welcome something to retro. Look at this. This is great news. Welcome to retro Nintendo DS that came out this week 20 years ago in your ugly gray clamshell original design that eventually got better, very much better, like a year later. But 20 years of DS games, man. It's a hell of a run. It's still the highest selling handheld console of all time. No, I'm sorry. Highest selling console of any kind, the DS. It outperformed PS2. It outperformed everything, all of it.
Yeah, still a tough one to emulate because of the form factor. Right. 2 screens, one the bottom of the touch screen, but also displays things. Also, if you go back and you play some of the early releases of this thing, the interface is just, I don't care for it. It's just, and the screens are so small, but it is what it is. I definitely prefer my later 2DS XL. That is a solid system.
I was a 3DS. I was a 3DS XL guy.
Yeah. I like the 3DS XL, but the 2DS XL, the new version, is a really competent version. It'll play all these things. Are backwards compatible, so that's the way I like to play it. But man, can you believe it? Nintendo DS now 20 years, which makes them play retro in age.
Yeah, look at this. So this is the one I had. I bought the same. I want to say this came out like within a week of Warcraft launching. I think that's right.
Right.
Or World of Warcraft. So those were the only 2 things I cared about at the time. But I had this model. I still have it somewhere. It's ugly and horrible.
Horrible and scratched up on the bottom screen.
But then they very quickly came out with
screen protectors.
DS Lite came out. When did the DS Lite happen? Like a year later? That was such an awesome
pretty
upgrade.
Quick.
It's a beautiful upgrade.
It's pretty quick.
And I had a black one and a white one because I was crazy. And then I ended up with where is it? Is this the E one? No, there was a DS Lite E. What was it called? It was basically the one that had an online store.
DSi? You're talking about the
DSi, that's it. I had that one.
Yeah, with the camera. Yeah.
I had that. And I loved this device. I thought it was amazing.
It was a great game, really unique gameplay. Blew my mind back in the day. So we need to do a really big. We need to almost like spin off to like a handheld show as well, or once a month. Just tackle some cool ass handheld thing because
I love them.
Such love for handhelds. I mean, people love their consoles, but man.
I still say
there's something about a handheld.
The GBA library and the GBA SP are still my favorite of all time.
Yeah, some of the greatest stuff.
Freaking loved it. Anyway, there's your look at what's retro this week, and it turns out it's a whole system, the Nintendo DS. Congratulations, Nintendo, and you're still the leader in sales numbers on that damn thing.
Still the one. 32-bit system, Scott. Can you believe that? They put 32 bits right in our pocket, and it was $150 when it came out.
Yeah, it's kind of pricey. And the best games, I'll tell you the best games I played on it. I loved the Tetris game that came out on that device. It was Nintendo themed, so it was like full of Nintendo levels and Mario music and Zelda this and that and Metroid levels. And the multiplayer wireless multiplayer you could do with it with your friends, and we did this in the office all the time. Hours and hours of stupid fun. I love that game. Other than that, probably new Super Mario Brothers was very good on there. That started the whole new Super Mario Brothers trend, I think. And Fire Emblem was whichever. I can't ever remember what it was called on that one. Actually, the 3DS Fire Emblem was the best Fire Emblem, but it was still very good. There were plenty of games on there that were great. It was fantastic.
Yeah. If it at launch, you probably would have picked up Super Mario 64 for the DS. Spider-Man 2. Man, what a huge the Spider-Man 2 just rocked it in the video world. It was everywhere.
Yeah,
it was everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Sony put that in too many places.
Sony was doing the thing.
Oh, there's the 2DS. I forgot how flat and funky that was. Look at that thing.
Yeah, that's my least favorite form factor. The open one that doesn't fold.
Yeah, it's weird.
2DS that they launched.
It's just so much dead space on this thing. Like all this black bezel for nothing.
That unibody thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird decision. But they sold a lot of these.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they count those numbers along with all DS sales. I would love to have one just to have it, but I don't. Anyway, DS.
I had one and I gave it to somebody because if you already got several things of something, give it to somebody else. It's just like, I'm not doing anything with this. It's just sitting here in a drawer.
Look at that sexy red one.
I won't sell it, but I will give it.
Oh, and the Mario Kart for that device was fantastic. Oh, I love that one. I forgot what it was called. It wasn't 7.
Yeah, it's a good one.
What was it called? Not Double Dash.
Was it Mario Kart DS?
It might have been. Yeah, because that's what Nintendo does. Hey, we got a name of a thing.
That's what Nintendo do.
Yeah, we're going to put 64 and everything. All right. Well, there you go.
Say we're going to put Super Mario 64 in our 32-bit handheld system.
That's
Makes
right.
sense.
Take that, jerks.
Welcome to the treasure room.
By
the way, what? What were you going to say?
By the way, you're breaking it for me. To break. Hopefully, I'm sounding okay to you.
Oh,
and
I think it's my internet.
The chat room is saying that you're stuttering as well.
Hold on. I think it's the internet. I'm switching over. Did it switch you and I think it did.
Yeah, you sound like a little less stuttery now. Yep.
Okay. It should be my main ISP is choking for some reason, but the chat's not going to see us for a second. Sorry, chat. Hang on one sec. You should see us again shortly. Why isn't it picked up yet? I mean, you're hearing me. That means Discord picks it up. Why is OBS not picking it up? OBS, what are you doing?
Some OBS.
Here it comes.
If you ask me.
All right. Fresh frames. Full speed ahead. We're good. We're back to norm. Sorry, everybody. My ISP is being a fart face right now.
Are we still recording right
now?
Yeah,
we're good. Yeah, none of that stopped.
Before we do that next thing.
Yeah.
Just want to remind everybody that the promotional word they used for the DS was touch. And specifically with the North American slogan being touching is good.
Well, I mean, I think in the right context, I agree,
Right?
I'm not going to fight that.
Touching is good.
I think you should have those bongos with you all the time. He's always whacking these bongos. You should keep them
I don't mean to, and I'm trying not to because I know it's just got to be distracting. It's just how do you have bongos in your? I should put them down.
Yeah, if you have bongos in your lap, forget it. You're gonna hit them. That's the rule.
You can't stop.
No, that's like eating one potato chip. You're gonna keep going. Or wait, is that who has that slogan? You can't stop.
Is it? Yeah, pop. You can't stop Pringles, right?
Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. Once you pop, you can't stop.
All right. Here's an actual. Did I play this yet? Maybe I didn't.
Welcome to the.
Did I play that? I did play that.
You did, but we were having trouble.
It was all effed up. Yeah. Well, let's get to that. Here's your email for the week. This is actually a text. This comes from Raven, and he sent this text to us to 801-471-0462. You're encouraged to use that or our email address, playretroshow@gmail.com. Or if you're feeling frisky, Brian and I are very active right now on the exploding Blue Sky. Not to be confused with the company that made the game Vectorman. But no. Blue Sky, the social site, is going kind of crazy, at least for us right now. So if you want to follow us over there, I'm the Scott Johnson. He is Brian Dunaway. Super easy to find.
Yeah.
I used to be just Scott Johnson, but because I tied it to a domain, I had to do because it's my domain.
That's right.
And now, and some guy already picked up my name on the other one, so nice.
Ha! Look at that. Yeah. We're flipped.
We're flipped,
I used to
baby.
be the Brian Dunaway on Twitter, and now I get my full name.
I don't know what it means, but it means something. Anyway, if you want to follow us there, send us questions there, whatever. It's really popping right now, and I really like it.
And I've got a really cool thing going on right now. I'm not sure how I want to project myself on Blue Sky. Maybe I want to do a little different, but I am asking right now on all my social media platforms, Play Retro Heads, tell me about the project you're currently working on in retro gaming. Yeah. I know you're working on one. I want to hear about it.
Yeah. And here's why another reason you should hear about it. Tell us the project you're working on so that we can also add your name to a Play Retro starter pack. It's this thing that Blue Sky does that lets you have like up to 150 people per list. and it's just a list of, like, let's say it's all retro gamers who have common interest in retro gaming. 150 of those people, you just click the list, it brings it up, and you hit sub to everybody. Follow everyone.
Yeah.
It's amazing. There's also block lists for dicks, and that's pretty good too.
For 6 inches, my darling.
Jerks.
That's how.
Jerks,
Yeah.
not necessarily 6 inches, my darling.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get to this thing he says here. He says, Scott has become Cranky Kong. That's how this starts. Raven goes on to say, Scott, just heard. Oh, that's so Raven to say that. Just kidding.
So Raven.
Scott, just heard Play Retro. You saying that no one can ever play as anyone other than Mario in a Mario game. You can't play Luigi because it's a Mario game. Come on, man. That's banana pants. And then he did 2 bananas and 2 bongos. Love the retro vibes, guys. Raven. Look, I'm going to stand by this.
Here's some context, by the way, real quick. Last episode, Scott would randomly yell out, "You don't have Donkey Kong in your Donkey Kong game."
Yeah, you need Donkey Kong in your Donkey Kong game. Not just as the guy you got to go rescue. I freaking hate that.
Right.
All right?
Yeah.
Now, I say this, but like The Legend of Zelda's never let you be Zelda until recently with that new game, that new little chibi game. That's also annoying, but I'm glad they finally rectified that. I can forgive that because it started that way. She was only referenced, in a way that meant that you were going to go save her.
In the game, you just couldn't play as her.
Couldn't play as her. But Donkey Kong and your first Donkey Kong Country let you be Donkey Kong. He needs to be in Donkey Kong Country 2 and 3, and he isn't. He's in there sort of, but not in a playable way. And that's lame. And I say the same thing about when I play Super Mario Brothers 2 or any of them that let me choose Peach or Luigi or Toad or anybody, any of the new ones, not all of them. Always play Mario. Are you kidding? I don't care if Luigi jumps taller. Have you heard him lately? Mario. He sucks. I actually kind of like Luigi. But my point is,
I love Luigi.
You go play Luigi's Mansion. What if they suddenly said, oh, no, Luigi got sucked into a magic mirror. I guess you got to be Mario the whole game. You'd be pissed.
Oh, don't play Luigi's Mansion 3 then. Uh-oh.
Oh, no, really?
I'm just kidding.
I think I played 3. 3 was Luigi.
Typically, Raven, I would be on your side, but I'm on my heels this week with complaining about Vectorman not having jointed connectivity on his appendages. So catch me next week. I'll try to be a supporter.
Yeah, because usually Brian will take the opposite argument, and I think that's good. It's healthy for us to do that, but this is just a no-win situation. If your game is called Super Mario something, if you don't let me play now, I'll allow you to get to play other characters. That's fine. You should do that, because if they're there to play, do what you want to do what your heart tells you. But if it says Super Mario Brothers, Mario better be one of them to play. If it says Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many, Donkey Kong better be playable in the game with his name on it. That's all I'm saying.
Raven, Scott has become Cranky Kong. I'm just saying, it's fine.
They could have just called it Diddy. You know what? I don't complain that Diddy Kong Racing is Diddy Kong. It's fine because it's his game. And you can be a bunch of characters in it, but you can be Diddy Kong if you choose. That's all I'm saying. Metroid. Okay. Metroid's the name of the aliens, but...
I thought you were done. Go ahead, Metroid. Metroid.
I just yell it out like a Tourette's. Metroid. All right. Anyway, that's that. Let's get out of here. We're going to do the retro report. A reminder, servers like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Unreal Tournament 99, and 04, these things are all up on this place, including retro achievements information. Brian mentioned that earlier, and I noticed with the new EMU deck or EMU deck that they right up front let you sign into your retro achievement stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I appreciated that. I wish they just let me run Dolphin games. Anyway, retrogib.com. That's retrogib.com for details. There's always something going on over there, so go check it out. Our next game will be Medieval. Medieval
from 1998, a game I have yet to play for the PlayStation, but I've always wanted to because I find the artwork fascinating. And look at this. It's a hack and slash adventure that does 3D right, from what I understand.
And I only played it in a kiosk. I never played the at home either, so I'm like you. I've barely touched it. But people love that, and they made a remake or a remaster or something, didn't they?
They did, and there's mixed reviews on that. We're going to talk about that as well.
Yeah, I think some people preferred the crusty old ass looking deal.
Make it crusty. It's
like,
the only way to play.
Right here.
Is it medieval or is it medieval?
Well, you spell medieval. You spell medieval with this spelling, right?
Right. But the E is emphasized as a capital.
Right. So in this case, the game is probably better pronounced as medieval because of the way they write it. But medieval is a term, right?
Right.
Right? Or am I smoking crack?
No, you're right.
Oh, no, but medieval is spelled different. I'm dumb. medieval is regular medieval.
A-L instead of I-L.
Yeah,
right.
Medieval.
Yeah, and you'd say medieval.
Medieval.
Right. Medieval.
Medieval.
But if you're saying this game, you're saying I think it's medieval. Or
we'll find out.
Medieval. I don't know.
We'll have that figured out by next week, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I'm sure that'll all be worked out. Yeah.
We'll have it all figured out.
It'll all make sense.
Give us a week.
Give us one Earth week. Okay, everybody? Speaking of which, next week is Black Friday. We're making a show.
Right. Are we gonna?
I'm making.
Yeah, we're still gonna do the show.
Are you?
Okay, very good.
Are you here? Are you gonna be here?
I don't see why not. I meant to ask you that because next week will be Thanksgiving in America next Thursday, which is the day before, and then if we've woken up for our turkey coma on Black Friday, what they usually call here, which is starting early because there's a short. It's not always this late in November, but this time it's late in November. Christmas is going to be coming really soon, and so yeah.
Yeah, it's coming up fast.
Happy holidays.
You know what I think we're going to do? We haven't talked about this, but I want to do like our top things people could buy for the holidays in retro today. Like right now.
Yeah.
Like
right now?
No, I mean not now, but I mean like right now if they were to buy things. So like if you're like, which handheld?
The modern times.
Yeah. Which handheld is the best one for all this emulation stuff? Which one is one to look for? Or
do we need to do that for next week and then push medieval to then the week after that? Because, man, it's going to be tight.
Oh, that's a good point. What do you think? Well, no, here's what we could do. We could do medieval and then just screw the rest of the half of the show that we usually do and do that.
Okay.
Let's do that.
All right.
We're getting half. Look at this meeting we're having live on the air. This is great. We're having a meeting.
You're involved. You're part of the show.
That's right. You're sitting in that boardroom going, who brought donuts? That's what you're saying.
And you can have a bigger say if you were only a patron.
That's right. And if you're really in a boardroom, we'd say things like synergy and put a pin in it.
Yeah,
things like that.
Synergy and how can we...
I'll circle back. Circle back to it, Brian. We'll circle back.
We'll circle back.
Yeah. Put a pin in it. We'll circle back to that next week. Let's touch on... We need to touch base. Things like that.
Touch base.
Yeah,
which was Nintendo DS marketing. Yeah, touch it.
Touch it with your 6-inch.
Touch me, I think is what it said. Touch me.
6-inch, my darling. All right. Anyway, that'll be what we'll do next week, and I'm very much looking forward to it. In the meantime, hey, Brian mentioned it, but our Patreon is how we keep the lights on here. If you want to be a part of the bigger family, please do. Patreon.com/playretro. You'll get no ads or commercials, pre-show content every week. Be here and support your favorite retro gaming podcast. All right, do it. That is, again, patreon.com/playretro. That's going to do it for us. Brian, anything else you want to add before we go here?
Yeah, I'm going to bang on the drum all day. I can't stop.
Oh, my gosh.
Give me back.
That's
give me
amazing.
back. I got to do it.
We're going to escape. I just realized what time it is. Maybe we can't do an X-Men today. Hold on.
Oh, that's fine.
I didn't realize how late it was. Well, we'll figure it out.
We did have a long pre-show, which is the patrons get to hear all
that.
Yeah,
you get a bunch of bonus stuff. It's the holidays. We're feeling generous.
Almost like an hour-long pre-show about that new Sonic cartridge.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That was fun.
Promo Sonic cartridge.
And I want one, damn it. Pissed about
Give
that.
me it.
All right, that'll do it for us. Thank you all for listening. Go play something retro. We'll see you in a week.
Those pants are made for frogging, if you know what I mean. I actually don't. I don't even know what I mean. Frogpants.com.
Lunch combinations and hot dogs.
Lunch combinations
Lunch
and hot dogs.